Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's June 29th, 2022. I've been working in the forest area and all, and I thought I'd share a couple of things that are observations, some of which I understand completely, and some of which I'd love to learn so much more about. So most of you realize I've been watching the channel for a while. I do lots of composting and all, lots of decomposing of some materials like wood chips or culture, burying logs, those sorts of things. And right here are some of the materials that we're just, decomposing. So this is old wood chips that we took out of the central garden. And on the other side of this are leaf mulch and some of the materials that we're just putting down here, and these are decomposing. We're not doing thermophilic composting, getting the temperatures up and turning the pile and all that. This works really well for many things, but it isn't going to kill weed seeds and all. But I just wanted to mention this because we're going to go in and look at another system I've been using for a few years that I've talked about in other videos, but I think it's worthwhile just sharing a little bit more. So we're going to go into the forest. We're going to go up one of the roadways that I've talked about as well. It's morning, sun is just coming up. This is an access road that I've had for years, and I've gone down and back to work at the beaver ponds. Off in the distance are the beaver ponds. And there's an area of road work that I've been using the stone and the gravel for. Working down there. I'll make videos about that soon. This is another access path that I'm developing into a roadway, and we're going to go by a couple of culture pits down here. There's some of the sandy gravel right there that came out of one of the pits. I'm on the pit right now, and there's another pit just on the other side. This is the access road that I talked about making my way up in here. But one of the things I'll show you, so if we look around on the forest floor, there's all of the gradually decomposing limbs that break off from the various trees in the forest here. And then we have the leaf material that falls every fall as well. And so we have lots and lots of this material that I've been picking up bit by bit each year and putting into small piles. So we'll show you that. So this is an example where I just sort of like push things up into a small pile. Yes, it's all gravel based down below this, but you can see these limbs have been decomposing gradually over time and all. You'd see the root ball down in there really breaking down. And so one of the things I'll do is I'll find a spot. This isn't the spot right here, but I'll find a spot and pile these up, and I'll take some of the leaf mulch, the leaf material that's on the ground, and mix that in with it, similar to this, with some of the soil that's there. And this is either 1 or 2 years old. Now this pile has dropped in height at least 5 feet. So right now it's 3.5 feet high. I had it as high as I could pile it here a couple years ago. And I pushed it off to the side because I was making this pathway up and down in this area here. But I'll show you one of the piles, hopefully maybe in this video or in a future video, where this stuff first it creates a habitat for all the small critters, birds, reptiles, and mammals to live in for a couple year period of time while it breaks down. Then as the microorganisms really take over, it turns it into some pretty decent soil. And that's the material that I'm using for capping the hugelkultur pits. So I wanted to show you what it looks like. It looks like just a mound in here. There are some rocks in here, of course, but you'll see in some of the videos how I do it. But it all starts by just sort of gathering up this material. And I've made videos before where I show over in this area is we build soil from all of our paper products. That's everything from paper towels, envelopes, or junk mail, packaging paper that comes from Amazon package and all, whatever it may be. All of that material goes into a system similar to this that breaks down into beautiful soil. So we'll go up a little bit further. Start Pepe. Purposely gathering up the material and separating the stuff that really looks like it's decomposing well, because that'll go into a pile, and the stuff that isn't decomposed well will go into a hugelkultur pit. That stuff there is decomposing pretty nicely. Okay, so in one of the later, more recent videos, me working in the forest, I had trees, all of those tree trunks over there were all piled up over in here, covering up this whole area, and this is the new access road area going to the stone wall and the old foundations. I'll go to that in just a moment. But that material, before piling all these newer tree material on top of it, down below, is all of the material that I've been gradually building up. So this stuff here in this pile here is maybe a year old, in that pile right there. And when it gets about 2 years old, that material does a really good job as the hugelkultur pits. So this is one of the hugelkultur pits right in here. I just took some of the soil, packed it on top of here. This is another hugelkultur pit right here. That I just put in, that I haven't posted any videos about, but another really good size and deep hugelkultur pit. And you can see the gravel that's come out of that hole there. And I'll be making another hugelkultur pit right over there in that area that I cleared. But if you look at the soil, it's really beautiful soil. And you can see not everything's broken down completely in the soil here. But this will sink. Over the next 3 years, there'll be some more little voids. But as I take the material and pile it up, the stuff that's partially decomposed, that'll give me beautiful soil to fill in these areas. And we'll walk up to this area up here. So this is next to an old foundation, and you can see I've been coming up here with the Hulk, the Takushi TL12 V2 track loader, and grabbing this material. You could, oh, there's a deer right there. jumped out of the way. So yes, there's stone mixed in with it. There's some pieces of metal in here as well. But the material all breaks down. And some of the stuff, if I just run over it with the equipment, it'll just crush and all. And you can see there was a stump right here. So besides using a hugelkultur pit, picking up material that's already decomposing, piling it up, it creates beautiful habitat. Excuse me. Beautiful habitat for the wildlife. And that's one of my goals, is to create as many resources for the wildlife to have as much of a home and resources for them to survive and thrive as possible. So this gravel here will go down on top of a couple of access roads. And we're going to go up to the most recent path I've been making. So I've talked about the elevation on the property before. So at the top northeast corner of the property, which is way up in that direction, where pond 1 is 450 foot elevation. We're standing right now at an elevation that's probably pretty much level with our house, and that's over in that up in that direction up there. But I don't know if you can appreciate it, we're going uphill here. So this is the new access road. This ash tree I'll end up taking out. And I've talked about the old foundations from years ago. And something that really interests me is who created these foundations. So as you saw in the gravel that I dug out from the hugelkultur pits down there, that material was pretty nice looking sandy gravel down in there. But as we climb up this hill, it really gets to be quite bony. And this is where this stone wall fence is, right in this area here. And I don't know, you may not be able to appreciate it, but this is the peak of the hill right up over here. This is the highest point. This is probably 455 foot in elevation. And the stone wall goes down this direction here, going down, and there's pond 3 down there at the base of that. And so this is a really wise place for farmers to take the stones from their fields and pile them up. It also is the place where, so although it's hard to see, so I should break up now and just stop for a second and say this. So notice how much bonier this gravel is that came out of a trench right in here. So I dug a trench here to take the foundation material that was over here, which is really massive boulders. But two things that really interest me a great deal here is, one, this is the highest point on the property, and the two highest points on the property are really bony gravel areas. And this is the area where the oldest foundations were created. And I suspect that this predates the Europeans from coming here. But I don't know enough of history to know about, the Mohawks, the Senecas, Onondaga, the Oneida, the Cayuga, the Native American tribes that inhabited this area. But they picked a spot where these foundations, I'm calling them foundations because there's big boulders on top of really rocky ground here. And one of the places that I dug up right over here, so there's a trench right in here that I took out a part of the foundation that was over here, and you see these clusters of trees, these maples here. So a cluster of trees, as I was digging out around a cluster of trees which were about really huge boulders in here, I could see that there was a decomposed stump that was probably close to 3 foot in diameter where the trunk was, and those trees were growing up out of it. So I suspect that's well over 200 years ago that that tree came up through a foundation. It was a stone foundation. And this is all, you know, it's not like organized like the foundations, like there's definitely, where I strongly suspect that the foundation that's over there next to the soil that I was just showing you was done by white men. It seemed very much like the stone wall, very well organized and all. And this may have been all organized, but there's all of these mounds, and sort of they are regular, but they're completely disorganized stone. I'm going to call them foundations. I'm not sure that there were building structures here, but it is the highest part in the property. It is the boniest and roughest ground around. As we get down further, there's better sand material. But as you dig down anywhere in here, it is nothing but boulders all around in this area right in here. And so it was a really wise place to construct a structure, whatever the structure may be. It would not be a smart place to do any plantings at all. So I don't know if anyone's got any ideas. So here's, you can see one of the trenches I dug here, and I took the stones from the various foundation, which were really completely disorganized at this point. But it's hard to see once the summer foliage is here, the actual outline of these mounds of stone and foundations. So I've taken out quite a bit over in here, but I'm right on a flat, almost a patio of flat stone right in here. But there's a stone wall here, it goes around here. There's another section there, so it's like they're small, squared, rectangular. They could have been ovoid, I don't know. So if anyone knows more about this or has any articles they could send me, I'd be really interested. But when I see clusters of trees that were seedlings that were growing up in large decomposed tree rings that were probably at least 300 years ago, that tree originally grew up inside of a stone structure. Now, could nature have done this? I guess so. Nature always amazes me. But I'm not aware in this part of the country that Native Americans were building structures out of stone like this. Maybe they were. I haven't seen any artifacts, but you know, it's I've had this for years and talked to people about it, but never stirred any interest in anyone to come and look the site over. And of course, there's so many, like this was a huge party area for people in the 90s and all when we were in Ithaca. And there's just so much junk and material all around in here, broken glass and bottles and beer cans and things that were shot up. But I just find this all so interesting. And maybe these are just stone piles that people put up, and they put it on the boniest part of the property. I just don't know. Over there, which we'll get to eventually, is the old foundation and the well. Just probably, that foundation's probably just 150 years old, I'm guessing, somewhere around there. But there's like all kinds of old crap around here. Somebody's old boot here. I don't know if any of this stuff was showing up. So that's about it. If anybody has any articles on these older structures, I'd be super interested in them. Okay, mosquitoes are out, and I didn't put any bug spray on yet, so I'm going to get back to work here, get my day started. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye now.